My wife told me not to embarrass her at her fancy luncheon. She said I'd ruin her big day, that I didn't belong in her world, that I should just sit there and be invisible. What she didn't know was this: everyone at that event was actually waiting to meet me. And by the end of lunch, the first toast of the night proved she'd been living a lie about who I really am. This is the story of the day my marriage got turned inside out. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm a tech entrepreneur. 3 years ago, I sold a software company I built from my garage for 8 figures. Now I consult for Fortune 500 companies on artificial intelligence integration, blockchain security, and system optimization. On paper, that sounds impressive. In real life, it meant nothing to my wife. Olivia had just landed a position at Prestige Communications, this prestigious marketing firm downtown. And somewhere between her first week there and our 3rd anniversary, she decided I was an embarrassment. Not out loud, exactly. But the small comments added up. The way she'd introduce me at parties: "This is Ethan, he does tech stuff," like I was background noise. The constant reminders that her world was different from mine. Better. We lived in a nice house in the suburbs. She had her friends from the firm. I had my work. And we had 3 years of slowly moving in opposite directions, with me wondering when I started becoming invisible in my own marriage. Let me go back to the beginning, because I need you to understand something. I loved her. Actually loved her. Not the fake kind of love that fades when things get hard. The real kind that makes you want to show up, even when you're not welcome. When we first met, she was different. We were at a tech conference in 2021. She was presenting on marketing strategy for emerging companies. She had this energy about her: confident, ambitious, hungry. After her presentation, I approached her. We talked for hours. She didn't care that I was the guy who'd built something successful. She just wanted to know how I thought. What made me tick. We'd grab coffee the next morning, and then the morning after that. For the first year, everything was simple. We'd stay up late talking about ideas. She'd tell me about her dreams. I'd listen. She'd listen to me too. Really listen. Not the half-attention kind. The full presence kind. We'd cook dinner together on Sunday nights. She'd put on old jazz records and we'd dance in the kitchen while food cooked. Those moments, I can still see them clearly. The way the light hit her face. The way she'd laugh when I'd step on her feet. But then she got the job at Prestige Communications. And something shifted. It was subtle at first. She started working late. Meeting clients I'd never heard of. Climbing the ladder. There's nothing wrong with ambition. I have plenty of it myself. But somewhere along the way, she started measuring her worth against mine. And when my achievements didn't fit the social circles she was building, she started treating them like a liability. I noticed it in small things. I'd talk about a consulting project with a Fortune 100 company, and she'd say, "That sounds complicated. Do you want to just keep it simple at dinner tonight? My colleagues won't understand all that technical stuff." Or I'd mention getting invited to speak at a conference, and she'd respond with, "That's nice, babe. But honestly, conference talks aren't that impressive to people who actually work in corporate environments." I'd let it slide. Each time, I'd smile and nod. Not because I believed her, but because I loved her enough to absorb the criticism without fighting back. 3 weeks before this luncheon, I got an email from Leonard Graves. He's the CEO of Graves Industries. Old money, quiet power, the kind of man who can make or break entire companies with a phone call. He'd attended a keynote I gave at a technology conference on AI integration in traditional business models. His message was simple: your framework is elegant. I'd like you to attend a luncheon my wife is organizing. We need fresh perspectives in our circle. I said yes. Then I told Olivia about the luncheon. She mentioned she'd received an invitation too, through the firm. Same date, same place. I didn't tell her that Leonard had invited me separately. I wanted to see how she'd act, whether she'd acknowledge my presence or keep treating me like the help. Looking back, I was setting a trap. Not a mean one, just a test. The morning of the luncheon, Olivia was already in front of the mirror when I woke up. She'd been awake for hours. Hair done, makeup starting to take shape. She was moving with this nervous energy, checking her phone, practicing her smile. Good morning, I said, moving to kiss her cheek. She pulled away slightly, focused on her reflection. Morning. I need you to help me pick an outfit. This has to be perfect. I watched her pull out dress after dress, each one more expensive than the last. Finally, she chose a designer number in deep emerald that probably cost more than my first car. She looked beautiful in it. I told her so. She didn't smile back. Instead, she grabbed my arm, not affectionately, but possessively, like someone handling an unpredictable object. Listen to me very carefully, Ethan, she said, her voice tight. This luncheon is important. These are my colleagues, my friends, people who matter in this city. I need you to just blend in today. Don't embarrass me with your stories or your tech talk. Just smile, nod, and let me handle the conversations. Can you do that? The words landed like a punch to the chest. Not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. This is how she saw me. Someone to manage. Something to hide. Who exactly will be there? I asked calmly, filing away every word. The entire executive team. Some clients. Influential people. People I've been trying to build relationships with for months. She checked her reflection one more time. If someone asks what you do, just keep it vague. Nobody wants to hear technical details. Just be pleasant and forgettable. Pleasant and forgettable. Those words would echo in my head all day. The drive to the country club was silent. Olivia scrolled through her phone, practicing her networking smile in the camera. Checking her reflection obsessively. Adjusting her dress. Everything was about image. Everything was about how she'd appear to the people who actually mattered. I drove calmly, my mind already working through algorithms I didn't need to solve. A nervous habit. I do it when I'm processing emotion. I wasn't angry. Not exactly. I was clear. For the first time in months, everything was crystal clear. I was about to walk into a room where everyone would judge me based on what my wife said about me. And she'd already decided I wasn't worth knowing. What Olivia didn't know was that Leonard Graves didn't care about her opinion. He had his own reasons for wanting me there. And in about 2 hours, her entire understanding of our dynamic was going to shatter. I'm not proud that I wanted that. But I also knew it was the only way she'd ever actually see me. The country club was exactly what I expected. Sprawling estate with manicured gardens. Valets in uniforms. Old money hanging in the air like expensive cologne. The kind of place where status is written into the architecture. The moment we walked in, Olivia transformed. Her entire demeanor shifted. She put on this mask, the social mask. Her smile became brighter, sharper, more calculated. She grabbed my arm, and we stepped into the reception hall. Crystal chandeliers. White tablecloths. Clusters of well-dressed people holding champagne flutes and talking about deals I couldn't hear from where we stood. Olivia immediately pulled her arm away and started scanning the room. "Wait here," she instructed, already moving. "I'll introduce you later if necessary." She glided away, her attention already on the group of women by the bar. Within seconds, she was laughing, touching shoulders, playing the game. I stood there alone, observing. It's what I do best. I watch patterns. Power dynamics. Who defers to whom? Who really has influence and who's just pretending? In rooms like this, everything is visible if you know what to look for. Then I heard a voice behind me. Ethan Cole. I turned to find Leonard Graves approaching, hand extended, genuine warmth in his expression. He was exactly as I remembered him from the conference. Mid-60s, silver-haired, the kind of man who moves through the world without needing to demand attention. He just has it. "Leonard." "Good to see you," I said, shaking his hand. I noticed several heads turning in our direction. People were paying attention, wondering who I was that Leonard Graves would greet me personally. "I'm glad you could make it," Leonard said. "I've been telling everyone about your presentation. Brilliant work on the AI integration model. I've already had my team reach out to your office about consulting. We need exactly what you're building." "I appreciate that. Your industry could benefit significantly from automation," I replied. Leonard placed his hand on my shoulder. Come. There are several people who've been waiting to meet you. As we walked deeper into the gathering, I caught a glimpse of Olivia across the room. She'd noticed me talking to Leonard. Her expression shifted from social charm to confused concern. For a moment, our eyes met. I gave her a slight nod before Leonard pulled me toward a cluster of executives. This was the moment. This was where everything was about to change. Leonard led me to a group of 5 men standing near floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the golf course. These weren't Olivia's marketing colleagues. These were the people her colleagues tried to impress. "Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Ethan Cole," Leonard announced with a subtle smile. "The tech innovator I mentioned. Ethan, this is Daniel Cross, CEO of Cross Financial. Victor Reyes, who runs Reyes Pharmaceuticals. Governor Elaine Porter. And Victor Reyes, founder of Harrison Media Group." I shook hands with each of them. Their grips were firm, their eyes assessing. These were apex predators in their respective industries. They knew how to read people. Daniel Cross spoke first. "Cole, you're the one who developed the secure protocol that half the banking industry now uses." "Guilty," I said with a modest smile. "That system saved my company $40 million in potential breach vulnerabilities," Daniel continued. "I've been trying to get a meeting with you for months. Your office is remarkably well guarded." "I believe in quality over quantity when it comes to consulting relationships," I replied. Governor Porter leaned forward. "Leonard mentioned you're working on something new involving AI-driven pharmaceutical research optimization." "Early stages," I confirmed. "But the preliminary models show promising results in reducing development timelines by up to 40%. The conversation flowed naturally from there. Technical but accessible. I've gotten good at explaining complex things without condescension. Victor asked about blockchain applications. Governor Porter wanted my perspective on AI regulation policy. Victor wanted to know about cybersecurity frameworks in media companies. Other guests began gravitating toward our group, drawn by the energy of the discussion. People were interested. Really interested. Across the room, Olivia watched with growing alarm. About 15 minutes into the conversation with Leonard's group, Bianca Reyes approached me. She was Victor's wife, and apparently one of Olivia's networking targets. "Excuse me," Bianca said, touching my arm gently. "I just wanted to say, Olivia, darling, you would never mention your husband was Ethan Cole." She turned to me with a smile. "Victor's been trying to arrange a meeting with you for weeks." Olivia appeared suddenly, her smile frozen on her face. "Yes, well, Ethan prefers to keep a low profile." "Clearly," Bianca said, watching the crowd around me. "Though I think Leonard did an excellent job drawing him out. Having Ethan here will be the talk of the circuit for months." Bianca excused herself, and Olivia stood there in stunned silence. I could see the moment her world started to crack. The careful narrative she'd built, where she was the successful one, where I was the liability, was suddenly being questioned. Leonard glanced at me knowingly, then excused himself to greet other guests. When the luncheon bell rang, we all moved to find our seats. Leonard placed his hand on my shoulder. "You're at the head table with me. I've seated you between Daniel and Governor Porter. Hope you don't mind talking policy and technology over lunch." "Sounds perfect," I replied. Olivia's stomach must have dropped. I could see it in her face. The head table. The place she'd probably been imagining herself sitting for months. Where the real power gathered. Where decisions were made. Instead, she was seated 3 tables away with mid-level marketing executives and their spouses. She watched me walk toward the front of the room with Leonard and the other power players flanking me like an honor guard. I didn't look back. Lunch was served on fine china. Each course precisely timed and expertly prepared. I sat between Governor Porter on my left and Daniel Cross on my right, with Leonard directly across from me. The conversation ranged from technology policy to economic forecasting to innovation frameworks. "The challenge with AI regulation," Governor Porter was saying, "is balancing innovation with protection. We need experts who understand both the technology and the broader implications." I cut into my salmon thoughtfully. The problem with most technology policy is it's written by people who don't understand technology, then enforced by people who fear it. What you need is a framework that's principle-based rather than rule-based. Flexible enough to evolve with the technology. Interesting approach, the governor said. She leaned forward. Would you be willing to join an advisory committee I'm forming? We need exactly this kind of perspective. I'd be honored to contribute, I replied. From her distant table, Olivia could see me commanding the head table's attention. She picked at her food, barely tasting it, while her tablemates gossiped about minor industry drama. Every few minutes, laughter would erupt from the head table, and she'd see me at the center of it, completely comfortable in a setting she'd assumed would be foreign to me. One of her colleagues, a woman named Jennifer, leaned over. Your husband seems to be quite popular. Yes, well, Ethan has his moments, Olivia replied tersely, not even getting my name right in her nervousness. I heard he sold his last company for over $50 million. Is that true? Olivia's grip tightened on her fork. She'd never discussed my success with her colleagues. Partly for privacy. Mostly because she'd minimized my achievements in her own mind. Admitting my success would mean admitting she'd been wrong about me. About our dynamic. About everything. Ethan does well for himself, she said vaguely. After lunch, the event transitioned into a networking session. I found myself surrounded by people requesting meetings, offering partnerships, seeking advice. A venture capitalist wanted to discuss funding options. A tech CEO wanted me to review their security framework. 3 different companies asked if I'd consider board positions. I handled each interaction with calm competence, making no promises, but leaving everyone feeling heard. This is a skill they don't teach you in business school. It's about genuinely listening to what people need, then being honest about what you can offer. During a brief lull, Leonard pulled me aside. I have a proposition for you, he said quietly, guiding me toward a quieter corner. Graves Industries is looking to create a technology division from the ground up. I want you to head it. Name your terms. I considered this carefully. It was a significant offer. Exactly the kind of opportunity most people dream about. That's substantial, Leonard. Can I ask why you're extending it now? Here. Leonard smiled. Because I've been watching you all afternoon. You have something rare. Technical expertise combined with social intelligence. You can talk to engineers and executives with equal fluency. That's invaluable. Also, I did my research after we met at the conference. You're not just brilliant, Ethan. You're ethical. You've turned down lucrative offers because they didn't align with your values. That's the kind of leadership I want in my organization. I'll need to review the specifics, I said. But I'm definitely interested. Excellent. My assistant will send over the details Monday. Leonard glanced across the room where Olivia stood alone, looking small and uncomfortable. Everyone had naturally gravitated toward me. She was essentially invisible now. Your wife seems a bit lost, Leonard observed. Should we include her in the conversation? I followed his gaze and saw Olivia clearly for perhaps the first time all afternoon. She looked diminished, confused, like someone watching a world they thought they understood completely turn upside down. Let's give her a moment, I said quietly. Olivia watched the exchange between Leonard and me. She could see we were discussing something significant. The realization hit her in full force. She'd been treating me like an embarrassment when I was actually the asset. Her entire understanding of our relationship had been inverted. She approached hesitantly as Leonard excused himself, heading back toward the main gathering. Ethan, can we talk? She asked quietly. Of course, I said, my tone polite but cool. Let's go to the terrace. We moved away from the crowd, stepping through the glass doors onto the quiet terrace overlooking the golf course. The afternoon sun was starting to lower, casting long shadows across the stone. Olivia struggled to find words. Her usual confidence had completely evaporated. This was unfamiliar territory for her, feeling outmatched. I didn't know, she finally said. Didn't know what? I asked. I didn't realize that I was someone worth knowing. That you had value beyond being. She trailed off. Beyond being your accessory? I finished calmly. That I had value beyond what made you look good. Her face flushed. That's not fair. Isn't it? My eyes were steady, assessing. You spent the entire drive here telling me to be quiet, to blend in, not to embarrass you. You treated me like a liability, Olivia. Like something to be managed and hidden. Olivia's face flushed with shame and anger. Shame at being called out. Anger at being made to feel small. You could have told me, she said. You could have mentioned that you knew these people. That Leonard had invited you separately. I shouldn't have had to, I replied evenly. The fact that I needed a special invitation for you to treat me with respect says everything about our marriage that needs to be said. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, I said, and for the first time, I let her hear the steel beneath my calm. For 3 years, you've been trying to remake me into someone who fits your idea of success. You've dismissed my work, minimized my achievements, made it clear you consider yourself the valuable one in this relationship. Olivia opened her mouth to protest, but I continued. I built a company from nothing. I created technology that's used globally. I've consulted for Fortune 100 companies. I've spoken at international conferences. But none of that mattered to you because it wasn't visible enough. It wasn't social enough. It wasn't glamorous enough for your circle. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with truth. I'm not finished, I said, and she fell silent. You asked me to be quiet and forgettable today. Instead, I've been offered a position heading a new division at Graves Industries. I've been asked to join Governor Porter's advisory committee. I've had 3 CEOs request consulting meetings. And I did all of that by being exactly who I am. Not who you wanted me to be. Olivia felt tears threatening, but refused to let them fall around me. What do you want me to say? She asked quietly. I don't want you to say anything, I replied. I want you to think about what you really want from this marriage. Because if it's a husband who will shrink himself to make you feel bigger, I'm not that person. I never was. I started to walk back inside, then paused and turned. One more thing. Bianca Reyes approached me about you joining a campaign she's running for a luxury brand launch. It's a significant opportunity. Could advance your career considerably. I recommended you highly. Olivia stared at me, stunned. You recommended me? After how I treated you today. I recommended you because you're good at your job, I said simply. Olivia, your professional competence isn't diminished by your personal mistakes. I don't need to tear you down to build myself up. I'm secure enough in who I am to support your success even when you can't support mine. With that, I returned to the gathering, leaving Olivia alone on the terrace with her thoughts. She watched through the glass doors as I rejoined Leonard's group, laughing at something Daniel said, completely at ease. This was who her husband really was. Confident, accomplished, respected. And she'd almost missed it completely. Inside, I felt the weight of the conversation, but I didn't let it show. I'd said what needed to be said. Now the ball was in Olivia's court. Leonard noticed my slight distraction. Everything all right? He asked. Just had an honest conversation, I replied. Long overdue. Those are often the most difficult, Leonard said, signaling for fresh drinks. For what it's worth, I've watched you and your wife today. I see a man who's comfortable in his own skin and a woman who's still figuring out who she wants to be. That's not necessarily fatal to a marriage, but it requires both people willing to grow. Wise observation, I said. I've been married 32 years, Leonard replied. You learn a few things. He raised his glass. To honest conversations and new beginnings, whatever form they take. I clinked my glass against his, appreciating the wisdom without needing to elaborate. The drive home was vastly different from the drive to the luncheon. Olivia sat in the passenger seat, her phone ignored in her lap, staring out the window at the passing scenery. She didn't turn on music. Didn't scroll. Just stared. Processing. I drove in silence, giving her space. Finally, as we pulled into our driveway, Olivia spoke. I owe you an apology. I put the car in park but didn't turn off the engine. I'm listening. I've been treating you badly, she said quietly. Not just today. For a long time now. My voice was steady, but I could hear the emotion beneath it. I got that job at Prestige. I felt like I was finally becoming someone important. And somehow in my mind, that meant you had to become less important. Like there wasn't room for both of us to be successful. That's a zero-sum mindset, I observed. Success isn't pie, Olivia. Me having more doesn't mean you have less. I know that intellectually, she said. But emotionally. She trailed off, then continued. My parents struggled financially my whole childhood. I watched my mother defer to my father. Make herself small. I swore I'd never be that person. But instead of finding balance, I overcompensated. I tried to make you small so I could feel big. I turned off the engine and gave her my full attention. Today was humiliating, she continued. But not because of you. Because of me. I saw who you really are. Who you've always been. And I realized I've been trying to dim your light to make mine seem brighter. That's not partnership, Ethan. That's sabotage. What changed? I asked. Was it just seeing me at the luncheon, or is this something deeper? Olivia turned to face me fully. It was watching Bianca ask me about you with genuine admiration. Watching those powerful men listen to you like your words mattered. Realizing that I'm married to someone remarkable, and instead of celebrating that, I've been resenting it. Why the resentment? Fear, she said. Fear that if people saw how accomplished you are, they'd wonder what you're doing with someone like me. Imposter syndrome. Wearing a different mask. I considered this, recognizing the honesty in her admission. Olivia, I never needed you to be less than you are, I said. I fell in love with your ambition. Your drive. Your confidence. But somewhere along the way, you started seeing me as competition instead of your partner. I know, she said, reaching for my hand tentatively. I want to fix that. If you let me try. I didn't pull away, but I didn't return the squeeze either. What does trying look like to you? Therapy, maybe, she suggested. Individual therapy for me. Couples therapy for us, if you're willing. Actually listening when you talk about your work instead of dismissing it. Supporting your success the way you've been supporting mine. Even today, even after how I treated you, you recommended me for that opportunity. I want to be worthy of that generosity. I was quiet for a long moment, weighing her words against years of behavior. I'd built my career on analyzing patterns and predicting outcomes. The question was whether Olivia's revelation represented a genuine turning point or just a temporary course correction born from shame. I'm willing to try, I finally said. But with conditions. First, we see a couples therapist. Someone you find and schedule, because I need to see you take initiative. Second, complete financial transparency. You need to understand fully what I've built. Third, we recalibrate how we present ourselves as a couple. No more minimizing either person's achievements. Agreed, Olivia said. All of it. Thank you for not giving up on us. I haven't yet, I said carefully. But I'm not pretending today didn't happen either. We have work to do, and it's going to require real change. Not just good intentions. We went inside together. Over the following weeks, their relationship didn't magically transform, but it began to shift. Olivia found a therapist and scheduled their first couple session. She started asking me genuine questions about my work. Not polite questions. Real ones. Questions that showed she actually wanted to understand. I accepted the position with Graves Industries. Olivia attended the announcement dinner, genuinely proud to be by my side. Bianca Reyes's opportunity materialized, and Olivia landed the luxury brand campaign. I celebrated her success without reservation. 3 months after the luncheon, they attended another country club event together. This time, when someone asked Olivia what her husband did, she smiled genuinely and said, Ethan heads the technology division at Graves Industries and consults on AI integration for major corporations. He's brilliant at what he does. When someone asked me about Olivia, I responded with equal pride. Olivia is leading a national campaign for Reyes luxury brands. Her marketing strategies are innovative and effective. I'm constantly impressed by her work. They stood together, neither overshadowing the other. both secure enough to celebrate the other's success. It was what partnership was supposed to look like. Two strong people choosing to build something together rather than competing for space. As they drove home that evening, Olivia reached for Ethan's hand. This time, he squeezed back. Not in immediate forgiveness, but in partnership renewed. They had chosen to rebuild rather than abandon what they had. The foundation was stronger now, built on honesty rather than assumption, respect rather than resentment. "Thank you," Olivia said quietly. "For what?" "For being patient enough to let me figure it out. For being strong enough not to let me diminish you. For being generous enough to support me even when I didn't deserve it." Ethan smiled. "That's what partners do. We hold space for each other to grow, even when the growth is painful." They pulled into their driveway, both aware that the work of rebuilding would continue. But for the first time in years, they were building together, not against each other. And that made all the difference. If this story hit you, if you've ever felt diminished by someone you love, or if you've been the one doing the diminishing, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Tell me, have you ever had a moment that changed everything? A moment where someone finally saw you for who you really are? And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it. Sometimes the truth needs to be spoken out loud. Sometimes people need to be reminded that success isn't zero-sum, and that real partnership means lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.